Hello, Professor Rosemary here and welcome to my lab. In this video, we'll be making some mini macaron and a chocolate Pokéball that we can fill with a sweet surprise. These things will go on to make a macaron trifle I made as a Valentine's Day treat, but I'm making them in a separate video here because the macaron and modeling chocolate can get a bit finicky. So with that said, let's get making. To start with the macaron, we're going to whip up some aged egg whites on low speed. No, this is not some exotic ingredient, just some regular egg whites left to chill in the fridge for a day. This relaxes the proteins in the egg whites and helps prevent over-whipping the meringue. When your egg whites become frothy like this, it's time to add some acid like cream of tartar or lemon juice, as well as our sugar a teaspoon at a time, making sure the sugar is completely dissolved before adding the next spoon. I skipped adding the acid this time because I forgot to buy some. It's not the end of the world, but past attempts have taught me that it does help to create a more stable meringue and increase our chances at successful macaron. Once all of the sugar has been added and dissolved, we can add our food coloring and whip on high speed until stiff peaks form. These peaks should be able to stand on their own and flop slightly at the tips. If the tips stand completely stiff, the meringue is over-whipped and may cause our macaron to shrink and deform when baking. To prevent this, I stopped every 30 seconds towards the end to check the stiffness of the meringue. Another fun way to check is to simply tip the bowl upside down. If you don't end up with a mess, then your meringue is about ready. Next, we're going to fold in a third of our powdered sugar and ground almonds. I've sifted these beforehand and measured out the required amount. Once the sugar and almonds are roughly mixed in, we'll fold in half of the remaining dry ingredients until roughly mixed, and then the rest of them until no streaks of meringue remain. With all of our ingredients mixed in, it's time to perform the macaronage, which is basically a process of deflating our batter the right amount until it's flowy and glossy. This is done by smooshing the batter against the side of the bowl, then gathering everything into the center. What we're looking for is a batter that is able to flow somewhat fluidly. To test this, we can perform a figure 8 test by, well, drawing a figure 8 with the batter. The batter should be flowy enough that we can draw an 8 on it, but not so much that it's just flowing off the spatula like water. The batter trail should also merge back with the rest of the batter in about 12 to 15 seconds. If your batter passes all of these tests, you're ready to get piping. Getting the macaronage right is quite vital, as undermixing the batter will result in puffy and cracked macaron from the excess air, while overmixed batter will produce flat puddles from the lack of air. Once we have our batter piped, bang your tray several times on all sides to get rid of the air bubbles, and pop any remaining ones with a toothpick. Before we bake them, we're supposed to leave them out to dry until a shell forms that doesn't dent easily. This can take anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour or more depending on your climate. Since I live in a humid tropical region, I actually cheat at this step using the oven. For specific steps on this, check out the written recipe in the video description. Also, do plan ahead for this recipe. I have 4 trays of macaron, each taking 45 minutes to dry and bake, and it's already 1 AM. Yeah, get your rest and don't pull Professor Rosemary. But either way, at the butt crack of dawn, our macaron are finally done baking. It always makes me smile to see the feat of my successful macaron after many failures and learning in the past. Now we just need to let them cool and keep them in an airtight container until we're ready to use them. I should mention that I am an avid believer in making my edible Pokeballs with the black band recessed into the ball and not jutting out like this. Yes, it's a lot easier to just smack on the black band on top of everything, but I'm possibly crazy and I want an anatomically correct Pokeball. So, for every color of modeling chocolate, we start by melting our chocolate over hot water or in a microwave, before coloring it with gel or oil food coloring. Once we have our desired color, we'll add our corn syrup. If you're familiar with working with chocolate, you'll know that mixing in the tiniest drop of water into melted chocolate causes it to seize, as the water pulls in the sugar and cocoa solids, causing everything to clump up and go stiff. This is exactly what's happening here, since the corn syrup contains water, while the sugars in the syrup help to retain flexibility in the modeling chocolate. As you mix, you'll feel the chocolate going stiffer. Once it resembles melty soft serve ice cream, stop mixing and just let be. Any further mixing will cause the cocoa butter to separate and ooze out of your chocolate. Transfer your modeling chocolate onto some plastic wrap and flatten to help cool it faster. Repeat the process all over until you have all your colors ready, and refrigerate them for at least an hour before using. Fresh out of the fridge, your modeling chocolate will be rock hard. You can leave it out for half an hour before working on it, or warm it with your hands as you need it. But either way, we'll need to knead the chocolate until everything's at even consistency. For the top and bottom shells of my Pokeball, I'm rolling out the chocolate between some plastic wrap to about 3mm or 1/16 of an inch thick. Since modeling chocolate doesn't stretch like fondant, I found it helpful to cut away a third of the chocolate to form a hemisphere. And to do that, I decided to use a large funnel with the hole plugged after searching around my house for a bit. One tip for working with modeling chocolate is to minimize handling it with your hands, as our body heat melts and softens the chocolate. If at any point your chocolate feels too soft and melty to work with, just pop it in the fridge for a few minutes to firm it up. Using the same idea as well, we can patch up and smooth out the chocolate by rubbing on the seams until they disappear. To get the shell to the correct height, I measured the length of the middle of the sphere to the edge and taped 2 toothpicks together to get this length. Using said ingenious tool, I marked off the excess chocolate before trimming it off. Now we just need a hole for where the white button will go, and we can pop this in the fridge to harden completely. I've cut some white circles to make the button, and to make the black band, I've cut a black circular piece and split it where the 2 Pokéball halves would meet. This then goes onto our Pokéball halves along with the black strip. Since I plan to cut the dessert in half later on, I'm making my life easier by pre-cutting the bottom shell. Though I started to question this decision because the shell refused to stay upright after that. But after some mild panicking and thinking, I've decided to reattach the halves with a small bit of modeling chocolate. I'll still have minimal chocolate to slice through later on, and this helps to reinforce the bottom shell to support the top shell as well. To help it stand, I used a little modeling chocolate donut as a sturdy base. And this is where I'll end things off. Check out this video to see how I used the Pokéball and macaron to create a sweet heart-catching treat. So that's all for now. Subscribe for more admittedly tedious Pokemon treats, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye bye.